Good afternoon. Today I'm going to show you how to develop the picture that we started last Saturday in our class, the Misty Forest, how to just develop it a little bit better, and also the techniques that I use. So we'll just be going over the techniques. So I've started with a picture that I've just blocked in the colors. I will show you how to do this background again. And then where the better flowers are, these are just blocked in with plain colors. And where my grass is going to be, I put some blue there, and there's a light green, and the road is just a yellow road, but we will be developing that. I will show you how to do that. So when I started painting, I always try, and I will tell you the colors. I'll list it below, the colors as I'm going along. I will explain to you, and I'll list the colors I've used as well. So when I started painting, because I'm working with acrylic paint, I like to just spray my canvas with some water and then just wipe it gently to, this is dry, all dry paint already, so I'm not taking off any paint, but it creates a nice smooth surface for me to work on. So I'm going to be using my flat square brush, and I'm using a little bit of the dark yellow and my white, and I'm mixing that together, actually quite a bit of white, and that is how I created this effect in the middle. So it's just with this over here, I'm just removing that, just up and down strokes, because that will also create the effect of trees in the background. And then I want the center really, really light, and I want it to look like a misty forest, so I'm going to make the bottom bit a lot lighter. And I'm going to create an area where it looks like the sun is really coming through there, so a very light area there. The rest of the canvas of the background I covered with mixing my ultramarine blue together with this dark yellow, just a little bit. Well, you can alter it darker and lighter as you want to, and then as I go further out, I made it darker. So there you see, just stripes, just to suggest the trees. The trees itself, I just put in with a small, very small brush, and I will show you that technique now. So for the trees that I put in here, you want a very thin, watery color, and more blue, because the more distant it is, the more blue it is. So I like to use and then just pull it from the bottom. You pull it up, you can go to the side a little bit, and don't make them stay like soldiers all together. So some lean to this side and some lean to that side, and that is how you create these trees in the background. And some you want a little bit darker, so you just add more of your ultramarine blue to that, and then just pull it up like that. You can develop it a little bit more to put the branches in, so it's all just the V shapes that you're putting in, which actually creates a very nice interest. This tree, I can just put some more, just define it a little bit more. There you go. So that is how I did my background color. So you just mix more or less of your blue and green to create that. Then I will show you how I did the foliage in the front. I used, and also over here, this is what I used my sponge with. So I'm going to be showing you now how I will use the sponge to create the flower beds in the front. The colors that I'm using is my ultramarine blue, and I'm mixing that with my violet to create my darkest dark for the flower beds, and that will then be the shadow side of it, so I'll put that in the underside. And then I make it a little bit lighter by adding a little bit more of the ultramarine blue and then adding some white to that. So I've got a dark, a middle and a light color. The way that I do this now is I just use a normal kitchen sponge with some texture, and I dip it into my darkest dark color. It absorbs quite a lot of paint, so it can go quite fast. So I'm going to be covering all of this area here with this dark color. And you want it more on the bottom. You can bring it up towards the tree line, but your focus for the darkest dark will be at the bottom. I'm going to add some more blue to that, some more violet. I just need to cover a little bit more of this area with this dark color. And when you use your sponge, change direction in which you're using it. Otherwise you get a pattern that will be recognized as not natural. And you can go right in there where your road is. We'll tidy that up just now, so don't worry about that. And then we're going to be making the lighter color. So I'm going for the lighter color now, putting that on my sponge. I'm not rinsing my sponge because it actually creates a very beautiful texture when you have the two colors mixing. So the lighter color then I put in the middle, like that. And if you wanted more of the violet in it and more of the white, you create your lightest light color of this flower bed. And I apply it just to the tip of my sponge so that you can see that is where the light is, because I just want to put it as a highlight into my flower bed there. It's a bit dark still, so I'm going to add some more white. And remember that acrylic paint always dries darker than what you applied, about a shade darker. So, but you can always go in later and do it again. So this is the technique that I've used to create the flower bed. And let's go. I'm going to paint the tree, the white of the tree over this again. So I'm just to create a continuation of the flowers. I'm going to just add that in there. And to do the foliage of the trees at the top, I'm going to just zoom in for that. So to create the foliage for the trees at the top, I am mixing my ultramarine blue and the dark yellow. And that creates quite a dark green. Some of the leaves will just be, because it's just a silhouette against the light, so you really want it to be quite dark. And I'm going to be using the other side of my sponge, so not the purple side, the other side of my sponge. And I'm applying it quite liberally. And you can see then, yeah, over the tree line with the branches is, and some of the yellow is showing some of the blue. I didn't mix the colors in, didn't blend it in like cookie dough, like the one lady said, because it really creates a very interesting effect. And you go right over to the other side to create a continuation effect also. Put some there in the middle. There you go. So that is how you create foliage. and it creates a very nice contrast against the light of the yellow that is shining through there. And you can put a bit here at the bottom as well. As your sponge is drying, I don't apply new paint because you want some to be really light, and it creates the effect of maybe some ferns growing. There you go. So that is how you do it. The way that I created the lighter blue effect is I basically just used the same sponge. It's quite dry now, so I am just adding more blue and more white to it, and then I'm just dabbing it in between to create these little sky owls in between the branches. It might be a bit too white, but we'll see when it dries if it's too light. And that is how you do that. You can also take your sponge, the side of your sponge, and just pull it down like that to create more of the tree lines, maybe the lighter trees. There you go. So that is how I do that. And then to make it a little bit more green, obviously then you just add more of your yellow. And you do it like that. So that's a very easy way to apply your paint with a sponge, and it creates a very interesting effect, and it saves you a lot of time. So I'm going to show you now how I did this birch tree, and just see if this is not completely dry yet. So I'm going to wait with this. Let's do the grass in the front. Just mixing a little bit more of my colors. I'm going to be using ultramarine blue and the dark yellow again for my base color, but it doesn't really make a very nice yellow. I'm going to be using my ultramarine blue and my dark yellow to mix the base color, the darkest color for the grass, but it doesn't really make a very nice green. So I will be adding a little bit of lemon yellow to that, to my ultramarine blue, just to create a more vibrant color that we're going to be using in the foreground. And then I want my middle color. I can mix some of the lemon yellow and the darker yellow together with my ultramarine blue, which gives you a nice mid color. You can also mix cobalt blue instead of ultramarine if you want to create a more of a vibrant color. But sometimes your duller colors are actually very functional, because you don't want everything in your painting to stand out and shout out at you. So I'm going to be adding the foliage in the front, the grass basically, and this is just blocking it in. This is the easiest way for me, is to use my sponge to block it in. So it's quite dark with the blue and the yellow, and I'm putting it here, especially here by the tree. Whoopsie. Let me just zoom in. Alright, so now we're going to be moving to the grassy area. And I'm going to be showing you how to apply the paint with the sponge as well. So I'm using the other side of the sponge, not my purple side, otherwise you get a very messy color. And I'm using my darkest color that I've mixed with the ultramarine blue and the dark yellow. And I'm applying it especially here where the shadow area of these trees will be. You can even bring it a little bit into the road there. And on the other side the same thing. Putting it over there. I'm going to be focusing just over here, just to show you the technique that I'm doing. So you've got your darkest dark color, which is your shadow color, and then you want a middle color, which I mixed lemon yellow with the ultramarine blue, just to get a bit of a more vibrant color, because I want it to be a little, it's more to the foreground, so it can be a little bit lighter, and I also want it to look like the sun is catching it. So you can see that the color that you blocked in really makes a difference, because now you don't see the white of the canvas, you see the blue underneath it, which gives it that depth. Okay, and I'm going to go right into where the flower bed is, over there and over here as well. So this is my mid color. And you can go right in here where your road is over there. And then on the top where the sun would catch it the most, I just add a little bit more of the lemon yellow. And just remember, this is going to be a shadow area there, but there might be a few leaves that catches the sun as the sun comes through the tree branches. So just adding, there you go. So that is your highlight color then. Alright, so as you can see, I used the sponge to develop this area, the grassy areas, as well as the flowers in the foreground. I am going to be showing you now how to just bring some of the light. We have a light source coming from the right hand side, how to highlight your trees that are a little bit more in the foreground. So we're going to mix a little bit of white with some of the blue, and it must be really very, very light, because it's a reflection of light. And then I'm going to just put it in here where the light is catching these trees. And these are the only trees that show some detail in your background. So you just do that with your brush, and I want to just complete this one here. I sometimes find it easier to just pull it from the bottom upwards. And so you can see that is the idea of just the light reflection then from that side. Now I'm going to show you how to do, while we're waiting for the grass and the flowers to dry nicely, I'm going to show you how to do the birch trees. I just painted white over the ones that I've already done, which is fine, because it will create, you know, some marks are lighter than others, so it will just add to the picture some depth. I'm using some tape. This is just some scotch tape, which won't damage your paint, it won't hurt it at all. And just because the birch trees are very straight trees, you can put scotch tape there or some masking tape. Masking tape can be a bit harsh sometimes, so I'm just going to put some scotch tape on that side, and then one for the with a smaller tree next to it as well. And it just helps to create a very neat, tidy effect. Okay, there you go. So when we're going to start putting in the markings of the tree, I'm going to be using a small brush with a small flat brush, and I think this is a number 4. The colors that I'm going to be using over here, you can see I used violet. I like to use the same colors that are in the picture. It creates unity, so I'm going to be using some violet, but I will add some of my brown. It's Van Dyke brown, so that's my darkest dark color. And then to create a little bit of a lighter color, I will add some of my ultramarine blue to that color, and then my lightest color I will just add some white to that. Just rinse my brush, because I'm going to be starting with my darkest color first. And you just want to create a line on this side. You go down the line, and now it's not so much pressure. You don't have to be so nervous. This is a bit watery. I just want to dab my brush so I don't have so much water on it. I'm just kind of clearing it, the water off. So you start with your darkest dark color, and when you do it like this with a scotch tape, you don't have to be too afraid of going out of the lines. And I'm going to do this side. And to make the little markings, it's just horizontal lines that you're putting in. Maybe here and there. They are darker just underneath where shadow would be. So you can just go in a little bit darker on that side, a little bit more over here. There's a school close by, so you can hear the kids screaming and having fun in this cold weather. I don't know how you do that, but kids. Okay, so here you go. So with my darkest color, I am now putting in the lines. And this is my shadow side as well, so I don't mind putting in like a solid line there. And it's not just from the one side, so I mean you can put the markings in the middle as well. Sometimes it goes right across. I'm going to add a little bit more of the brown just to make it more realistic. And that is basically how you do your markings on your tree. What I will do is at the bottom I will make it darker, because it catches the shadow of the leaves and the branches as well. So I'll make this a little bit darker. And I will do the same on the other side as well. I can zoom in a little bit. So I will do the same on the other side. Darkest here at the bottom where it catches the shadow, and then just with horizontal lines, and you can make a solid line on the shadow side of your tree. Just grabbing some more of the paint and just make these little very distinct markings of your tree. And some are not just horizontal, some kind of, you can just drag your brush down I want to make this side a little bit darker over here. This creates so much interest because it's a contrast of light and dark, and this would be definitely one of your focus points that you would put in there. And then I'm going to use this dark color and just kind of scrumble over there where I know this is shadow. Over there, putting in some more, even some of the violet and blue color you can put in there just to bring that unity in there. So that's your birch tree. If you want to make the lines a little bit softer, you can just add a little bit more water and then put your softer lines in there. So that's the nice thing about acrylic paint, is it can act like water paint as well. So you can really create some very interesting effects with it. It's extremely versatile. There you go. And now when you pull your scotch tape off, I'll show you. It's tricky to get it off. When you pull the scotch tape off, you've got a very nice straight line there. There's a bit of the white still showing, but I'll show you now what I will do there. Putting this side off. So you can do exactly what you did to create this straight line in the reverse. So if this is dry, and it's not yet, so I'm going to give it a second to dry. This one is. Then you put your scotch tape over your dry area and you fill in then the green that you would want in between. So some green there. There's a little bit of purple at the bottom. Let's see if I still have some that hasn't dried completely. There you go. It's going to be in the shadow anyway, so I'm going to put the dark one there. And then you create a very straight line as well. So I will be doing the same on that side. Should be dry now. Oh, how lovely. Oil paint is so different to work with because you have to give it that drying time. It is a very nice different feel to it. You can't compare the two. With acrylic you have to work so fast, but it does give you this luxury of being able to work your process very fast like this, and so you can finish a painting in one sitting. I'm just going to use my finger, just work it in there a little bit. And then where the green is, and because this is now over the white, you can later on just work it in again. So I'll leave that scotch tape on there for a bit because this is just the first layer over that little bit of white, and you'll need to add a second layer. Okay, we're going to be working on the road now, so I will just zoom in. So we're going to be working on the road area now, and I will show you. It's the same principle that we use all the time. We have highlights because of where the light hits the object, and then we have areas where it is a neutral color or the mid color, and then we have the darkest color. So with acrylic, you always start with your darkest color first. I'm going to be mixing this dark yellow that I have, and I will be mixing it with a bit of red to give a very lovely orange color. I'm not going to put it right where meets that misty area, because that will be a lighter area. But you can go around the corners. Your lightest area of the road will be in the middle. So this is quite dark, but it's okay. And while it's still wet, I'm going to be mixing in more of my yellow. I'm going to definitely make it a lot lighter. But this, whenever you use a dark color like this, it's okay for me to use the darkest of my orange here in the foreground. Whenever you use a color like this, even if you paint over it in a more muted color, that vibrancy stays, because it will show through the initial whatever you put over it. So I'm going to be just using white to tone this down in as it goes into the background, because what is furthest away is more muted. And then I'm going to use your brush to kind of create this motion of a road, as you see the bend in the road. So you push it down more to make it like a darker stripe, and you use the side of the brush when you want to make it a thinner stripe. And over here you're going to have a shadow side, and over here is the shadow side. So here will be a lighter side, a lighter piece. I'm going to block it in with some white, but I do want to make it quite light, so I'm going to put some, oops, I got some of the green there, never mind. It just adds to the composition. So I want some lighter color there, and then the shadow is going to be quite darker. So we will be developing this just now. So there you go. Now you have an idea of what you're going to be placing where in your road. Alright, so I filled in this green area next to the birch trees, and let's see if I cut this down. There you can see now you've got a very nice and neat effect over there. This one, pull that down, there you go. And you can always touch it up later if you want to. We'll be putting some grass and things there, and I covered it there with that piece of white. I covered it with a green. Right, now I'm going to show you how to put in your flowers. So if you try and put red or yellow on top of this green, it won't look nice at all. It won't show off. So what you need to do is just put little bits of white. In the background, you won't see individual flowers, so you can just put like a line of white there for some flowers growing there, some flowers growing here. If you want to put some more highlights here on your purple flowers with just pure white, you can do that. And then in the front, where you want to place your flowers, you will be putting it. You're not going to put in individual petals, so it's just little blobs. And some here next to the road. There's always little flowers growing next to the road. You can see this green is quite dark, so it will give a very beautiful contrast when you put a lighter color flowers in. Over here, you might not see them so individually, so I'm just going to kind of connect the dots like that. And again, when you put a cluster of flowers in, don't put them like little soldiers standing there. connect them to each other, and if you put in individual flowers, try to do unequal numbers, like a 3 or 5. So I'm going to put 3 there, and let's put 3 here as well, and be conscious of the shape that the whole of the cluster of flowers creates, and also the negative space, so that space is in between. So I want to make a V over here with the flowers, and I want to make a triangle going upwards, and that will also then lead your eye upwards. And whenever you put triangles in your paintings, it creates places of interest. Okay, so we really want this to be a very happy painting. Part of the composition will be also creating some spaces that are very exciting and other spaces which are very dull. And so your background trees, where there is, or not dull, calm areas, so your background trees where there is just this misty foresty look is your calm area, and then your road also is very much the same color, but your flowers will then create the excitement. So I'm going to add some lemon yellow to some of my red that I have to create an orange. We'll make that our darkest color. And to lighten the lemon yellow, I will then just add white to that for my highlight color. So I'm going to start in the back where it's rather dry already. Even if it's not completely dry, you will see the way it mixes in with the paint, gives a very stunning look to that. So the further away your flowers are, the less bright they are. So I'm just going to use this orangey color here and just put some in there. Be conscious that you want your light at the top and your dark shadowy color at the bottom. I'm also thinking of complementary colors. So purple, the complementary color for purple or violet would be yellow. So I do want to put in quite a lot of yellow flowers. The complementary color for blue, which you have a little bit of in the background, is orange. So I like this bit of orange that is showing there. And I'm going to make the highlight color of this just a light yellow. Just to touch it here and there. There you go. And so in the foreground, I'm just going to show you on this patch of flowers. Then I'll show you the complete result. I'm going to look at my darkest color first to use. And because it's easier to work from dark to light. So let's think, I want to make them like a nice red color. So red will be my darkest color. And I'm just filling in wherever the white is. You can see where the paint is still wet, it's making a pinky color, which is not necessarily what I wanted, yeah. That's better if you want a bright red. It's okay to have pinky color flowers in between, but if you wanted bright red, then wait until it's properly dry. And then I'm going to bring some of this color into the road as well. I'll just smooth it out because your shadow reflects the color that is around it. So I'm just going to smooth that in. And just use a wet brush to blend that in. Okay, and so that would be then my darkest color. Let me just go over that again. at the bottom part I'm putting the darkest color. And so I don't want pink for the mid color. I'm going to make an orange. So my orange, I'm going to mix my lemon yellow and my red, and it will give me a nice bright orange, and I will use that then for the places where the sun catches it more. And be conscious to kind of connect your flowers, even the shadows and the light colors together. And then for my highlight color, I will just use some lemon yellow. Let's see if that will work. Not so much on here, so let me see if I mix some white with the lemon yellow. I like that more. So you've got your highlight color there. It's nice. It looks like a very bright sun shining on there. And then you can use some of the colors that you've mixed just to put here in the background for these little flowers. I do want to put more yellow in because we've got all of the violet color, and yellow is the complementary color. So I'm just going to put some blobs of pure lemon yellow, and now that orangey color makes the shadow of these flowers. Let's put that in there. I love that. Very nice. This one shouldn't be so bright though. Just going to tone it down a bit. And let's make this one nice and bright yellow. These three, yeah? And then I can use my, I did it the wrong way around now, but you get the idea. You can just use your shadowy color to put it underneath your flowers. I'm going to bring it in there, but into my road. Actually, I like the yellow, so I'm going to take a bit of white and my lemon yellow, and I'm going to put that into the road. It can be like a sun stripe. And then that white and yellow for the highlight color. There you go. Alright, so that is how you do the flowers, and you just continue with it the rest of the way like that, the same principle. You're just going to put the shadow in for on the road, and the furthest one away is definitely a cooler shadow. So I'm using some of my cobalt blue, and I'm just dabbing it here so that it looks like foliage. And I will be making a very watery mixture, and just bring it like a horizontal line across. There you go. So that is your shadow that you can see in the road there, and it's not a straight line, but it is a shadowy line there, and it must be connected to the shadow of the trees. So I'm just going to bring it right in until right underneath there, and then just bring it out there again. Just make it a little bit broader on the one side. And then for the foreground, your shadow here, you want it to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to use my red orangey color, and I'm going to make a shadow here with that light bright yellow as the sun is shining through the trees and the branches. So that is basically how you do. This is the technique that I'm using. You can add, I would definitely add a bit more of the red into the shadowy color, yeah? And you just continue with the same technique with the rest of the flowers. I will show you what it looks like when I'm finished. Thank you very much for watching. God bless. Bye. So there is the picture finished. There's the road with the shadows. And there you can see the complete picture. Thank you very much for watching. God bless you. Bye bye.